I want progress for Darwin, and I'll tell you why I want progress from Darwin. I see young people living in Darwin. I've got three sons. One of them is in Perth, the other two in Melbourne. I want Darwin to be the land of opportunity.
And so there was one incident that played out quite publicly in the public forum. That was the Amiun saga.
It's unfortunately that this happened, and unfortunately, Amiun has to bear the blame. Amiun had 19 complaints for breach of code of conduct.
So 19.
19, and she was found that she breached the code of conduct in most of them, with clear advice by NTCAT and the panel that she should seek reconciliation, she should apologize, she should put in her Facebook an apology and the facts. Unfortunately, she has done any of them.
We've just had Christmas, and with it, obviously, the 50th commemorations of Cyclone Tracy. How were the commemorations received in your mind?
Look, controversy, because a lot of people, they use the Facebook again as a place to air their grievances. We actually advertised late in 2023 for community members to express interest to be part of a committee for the 50-year commemorative.
Was that made on Facebook? Was that made on
everywhere.
everywhere?
Facebook, everywhere.
Radio, yeah.
Okay. We received less than 20 applications.
Right.
Okay. I became a person and non grata for the previous government, despite the fact that I came from the same stable.
Sure.
Because I keep asking, where's the bloody police?
Hey guys, I just wanted to say thank you to all of our viewers who have subscribed to the podcast. We've managed to improve our subscriber ratio that helps us with the algorithm. If you haven't yet subscribed, hit that button below to get the latest Next Gen North content. We hope you enjoy this video.
All right, the Honourable Lord Mayor, Kon Vatskalis.
Can you call me Kon, please? That's everybody knows me around here.
No worries.
And I want to keep the as informal as possible. Down's a small place. We know it, everybody. I came here in 93 for 2 years, and I'm still here. And every time I go out with friends from interstate, they say to me, everybody knows you. Well, we're a small town, so everybody knows everybody else. So Kon is the name.
Kon it is. Did you have some time off over the New Year and Christmas to have a little bit of downtime?
I did. I had a problem with my left knee. It was bone on bone. There was no cartilage left, so it was very painful. So I decided, well, Christmas is coming. Everything is slowed down. It's a good opportunity to do the operation, which I did late November.
Sure.
I'm still recovering. It's a big operation, so I still walk the crutches. One now. I graduated to one. And hopefully by the end of the month, I will be okay.
So how's the rehab going? Have they got you on a bit of a program? Or?
We've had one,
Yep.
but unless you do it yourself, don't expect others to do it for you. And so every afternoon, I'm out in the swimming pool, do all my exercises, and I have to tell you, day by day, it's getting a bit better.
Yeah, we just got to stick out. I've had a full knee reconstruction.
Yeah,
you're right.
Mine was replacement.
Right.
Yours was reconstruction. So they kept your old knee. Mine.
I'm still whole.
Yeah, I beep at any airport around the world.
Well, I think you're looking well, mate. So keep it up.
Well, the positive thing is I lost a lot of weight.
Okay.
And I intend to keep it down, which is really good.
Yep. Good one. Well, Kon, I think 2025 is going to be a really big year for the territory. We've had a change of government, and they've got now a clear run to implement their agenda. We've got a federal election coming up. Some are saying it's going to be in April. So big things are afoot. How are things looking for you at the local government level?
Look, we had a few rough years in the territory, and you're quite right. 2025 looks brighter. And looks brighter because we get news now that the Defence Forces are reallocating more soldiers up in Robertson Barracks. That means that they will come up here and their family will come in, and more population. And that's what we really need in the territory. And that will be very, very good for Darwin, because if they come in Robertson Barracks, the Darwin and Palmerston will benefit, because people have to rent houses. They have to buy food, they spend money, they service their cars, they buy petrol, so it'll be money rolling to the economy. The other good news we hear is Sandoz, the gas company, is going to start injecting gas from Barossa to the LNG plant here, because the old supply wells are running out. And the third thing we hear very well is, more things we hear about in the mining sector, and I'm speaking about that because that was in my past jobs as a Minister for Mines. Arafura Resources with rare earths is gearing up by August to start processing mine ore, and of course the Betaloo Base in Taiwan is looking forward to actually extract gas and start supplying the territory and the rest of Australia. Sure. If this happens, that will really kickstart our economy, because our economy relies heavily on mining
Mm-hmm.
and the animal and agricultural products and seafood.
Yep.
We're a small jurisdiction, very small population, but we are big in this kind of things. I mean, we're exporting nearly $750 million animals to Indonesia and some to Vietnam. We're exporting minerals. We're getting gas out now, and we've got a pipeline to Mount Isa, so we can send gas there. And mark my words, there will be a pipeline going from Alice Springs to South Australia to inject gas in the southern states, which they need desperately, especially Victoria.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you say, well, hold on, you're a mayor for Darwin. Why do you care about the rest of the territory?
Yeah,
Because all the animals exported from the port of Darwin.
sure.
All the minerals, they exported from the port of Darwin.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that comes in, the headquarters and everything else is in Darwin. So our town, our city is going to benefit.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's a very good overview, sort of a territory-wide lens. But if I may, if we can just stick with sort of Darwin in particular, the Provisional Heritage Declaration over the Esplanade was a recent interesting event, and it was overturned by the Supreme Court, I think, citing some procedural errors. And for those that don't know, are you able to just give us a little bit of maybe just a brief summary of what happened there and maybe what some of the implications are for the CBD?
A group of people put an application to declare the Esplanade as a heritage place. There's nothing wrong with it. Anybody can do it. The difference in this case was the Esplanade is already zoned in such a way that nobody can change it unless he goes through a certain process, the DCA and everything else. But who in his right mind or her right mind wants to change the status of the Esplanade?
Right.
The Esplanade is an open space for everybody to enjoy. And the last thing anybody wants, and certainly me, and I will defend it to the end, to convert the Esplanade to something that shouldn't be there.
Right.
The only thing I did as a Lord Mayor in Esplanade is clearing all the invasive species and the weeds on the escarpment because it was full of coffee bush, full of climbers, imported climbers, you name it, African tulips and everything else, and we clear it. And it's interesting because some of ex-councillors, they came to me and said, mate, that was really good. Now we can see the ocean. I said, well, it weed. Why you never cleared before? Or people arguing we can't clear vegetation. It's weeds. It's not vegetation. It's weeds. So that's what the only thing we did. The interesting is two interesting things. One was that these people, they actually asked for a heritage. They want to extend the heritage 500 meters into the sea. They want to actually put the heritage on top of private properties like Aquasin
Right.
and Power and Water and City of Darwin, the old oil tanks. And surprisingly, it stopped just short before the waterfront. So how come one part of the Esplanade is heritage, the others not? That's okay. Everybody's entitled to actually put an application for it. The problem came unstuck because the proper process was not followed.
Yep.
When the council was given, the day before it's announced as a declaration of Esplanade, an email saying, please comment on it. I said, hold on a minute. There's a legislation in place. You have to follow certain steps. You have to advise the people affected to give them so much time to declare. And suddenly I said, no, we can't do that one. This actually goes against the legislation, the process. And I know the process very well. I served as a minister in a government for 12 years, and I know very well what you have to do. We opposed it. We didn't oppose the declaration. We opposed the process.
Okay.
And the Supreme Court decided that the due process was not followed, and it threw it out. Nothing stopped people putting again a declaration for the Esplanade to be declared, or any other part of Darwin to be declared as heritage. What we're asking, follow the due process and give us the opportunity to comment on it, either why, against, or for it. That's the only thing we asked.
So what would be the motivation for making this provisional declaration if there's already these protections, as you say, under the zoning or whatever the case may be?
Well,
why would you do that?
Many years ago, Councillor Palmer came up with the idea to revitalise the Lameru baths. The old Lameru baths, they were actually down at the bottom of the escarpment. And then the last elections, I said, yes, that's actually a good idea. Councillor Palmer, we work together to make it a reality.
It's something quite unique, isn't it?
It's unique. It's not only unique, but you see, think about it. People go to Cairns and say, wow, look at Cairns. They've done the Esplanade. It looks so beautiful. And the same people come here and says, oh, don't touch anything. We want to be like it was the 1950s.
Yeah.
Now, the Esplanade can stay as is. beautiful open space on the top, and we can put the Lameru baths underneath. And unfortunately, we've got a group of people that don't want anything to change.
Hmm.
They came here in the 60s. I remember Darwin now in the 60s.
Yeah.
They grew old, they retired, they want nothing to change. Now, this is not news for me. I copped big flack when I, as a minister for oil and gas, signed the ConocoPhillips LNG plan.
Hmm.
People didn't want to be seen with me. I was abused on the street. A few years later, when the real estate went through the roof, the same people that
You're
abused
everybody's
me,
mate.
it was everybody's mate. Now, okay, we went through. And then I came in with the idea of creating the waterfront.
Mhm.
Oh boy, you're destroying Darwin as we know it. We don't want the waterfront. Who wants this kind of waterfront? Guess who's sitting in the front seats of the restaurant today in the waterfront? And guess what the people tell about the waterfront, the swimming pool, and everything else?
Mm.
So I'm used to it.
Right.
I want progress for Darwin, and I'll tell you why I want progress from Darwin. I see young people living Darwin. I've got three sons.
Mhm.
One of them is in Perth, the other two in Melbourne. And there'll be many other families like me who've got kids living Darwin because there are not many opportunities here.
Mm.
I want Darwin to be the land of opportunity.
Mhm.
We're talking about Darwin is the gateway to Asia and the entry point to Australia. We're closer to Bali than we actually to Adelaide.
Yep.
We're closer to Singapore than we're to Hobart or Canberra. But we don't need to see these opportunities. Yes, if you want to retire, that's fantastic, retire. But you can't deny people the right to have a job in Darwin, where they grew up, when they went to school, their families. By killing everything in Darwin,
Mm.
you destroy Darwin. And unfortunately, the same group of people that are opposing everything, and I ask them sometimes, is tell me one thing you support.
Mm.
They can't come with one.
Yeah.
Remember Gary Miller Boulevard was going to destroy Darwin, was
Mhm.
going to destroy the park next to it. Look at it now.
Mm.
Everybody says, wow, why we don't have more streets like that? And next to it, now we've got a new campus. You cut a tree down, a tree that was actually assessed by the arborist as sick and had to be cut down. I went the other day and I start counting the trees that actually are planted now in the university campus. I lost count after I passed 50, 60. I gave up because, yes, we removed the tree, we preserve the bob tree, and we build the university in such a way
Mm.
so that tree gets all the light it needs. But there are still good people said to me, "Oh, what a terrible design! It looks like a pyramid." And when we explain to them that on purpose, they don't say, "Oh, sorry, I didn't realize that." They just walk away because they're never wrong. These
Mm.
people are never wrong, unfortunately.
Yep.
If you make a mistake, just admit it. But we've got, you see, a lot of Facebook graduates.
Mm.
They graduate in architecture, in science, in medicine. You want an opinion? Ask somebody who graduated from Facebook, and he will give you an opinion.
Mm. If we could just stick with the Esplanade for a second, is I know it's an open space and it's zoned that way, but is there a way that we can maybe accentuate the beauty of the Esplanade better? I mean, you mentioned Cairns before. I think you've mentioned Malaysia as well. Is there ways that we can actually utilize that green space in a more commercial sense?
Yes, we can, without touching the esplanade. We can still leave the grass there
Yep.
and the trees there.
Okay.
We can actually do it beautiful, like we can put statues, public art. And the other thing I've said many times to the people,
But
that,
not like an Airlie Beach Lagoon or anything
no,
like that.
no, no, that cannot be done on the esplanade, but that can be done below the esplanade,
Okay.
on the sea, on the escarpment, where the esplanade, the cliff finish. We can do that there.
Mhm.
And there are plans about, the people came to me with plans, says, why we don't put a boardwalk? The
Mm.
people can go there and sit there. And you don't put buildings to exceed the level of the esplanade. It will be low, exactly like the waterfront. All the buildings in the waterfront, they cannot be higher than the escarpment.
Mhm.
That was the decision we made as a government at the time.
Mhm.
The same can happen to the esplanade. But more than that, we've got a series of hotels on the road across the esplanade.
Yep.
They've got restaurants.
Mm.
They can easily come and say, guys, how about we put 20 tables outside and we serve dinner there?
Mm.
They do it anywhere in the world.
Mm.
Anywhere in the world you go and you find out that don't have they actually on the parks structures. They just bring the tables in the afternoon. People enjoy it.
Mm.
And that can actually mobilize, revitalize the esplanade. And what we found out, the moment we start having people in areas, the riffraff and drunks and the antisocial behavior disappears. I'll give you a very good example. Nightcliff foreshow.
Mhm.
Friday afternoon, Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon, where all the people come there with their chairs and tables and have a drink and the food, and the vans are there.
Mm.
There's no argy-bargy. All of them disappear. And this is what we're currently doing at Bandilla.
Mm.
We're spending $3.5 million in Bandila Beach to completely redo it, to make a place for families to go and sit there and have a wine, to have a drink, to have food. We inviting vans, food vans to come there. We putting grass areas. We putting a not a BMX, but a
Skate
skateboard
park. Yep.
park.
Sure.
We redoing the toilets. We're putting public art. We're putting public lighting.
Mm-hmm.
So if Bandila now becomes a place for people to go, all the antisocial behavior will disappear.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what a lot of the people have told us before. Please do something with Bandila.
How far along is that?
We're
process?
currently finishing the first stage,
Yep.
and that will open at the end of January if the weather is good. We don't have.
And what's
heavy.
the first stage involved?
First stage, it involves crashing, remodeling, a skate park, the toilets, public art, lighting, and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Then the second and third will be to realign the road behind there to create parking for the people, and then clear the area, create a park, and put a boardwalk over the lake. You believe it or not, there is a lagoon there.
Mm.
That lagoon has been there. Nobody, even my son, who's born in Darwin and grew up in Darwin, said, the other day we drive and says, "Hey, where does the lake come from?" I said, "We cleared the park. Now you can see it." That's
I
where
used,
it
I
comes
used to
from.
fish there as a kid.
There are fish there.
Mm.
So we
Mangrove
want,
Jack and
that's right.
barramundi and
and we want to say to people, look, get your kid. There's a jetty.
Yep.
Go and fish there.
Mm.
So the Esplanade is not going to be built by 5-star hotels and everything else. The Esplanade will stay as is an Esplanade, an open space for everybody.
Yep.
We can activate it by offering to people, not only 6 o'clock in the morning, people do the walk and then nobody turns up. But in the afternoon, all these hotels, you can actually do something.
Mm.
A couple of times we had some vans that they came in and they provided food and drinks for the people visiting the playground there.
Right.
And they work really well.
Yep.
Well, why we can't do that one in more in the Esplanade and any other open space in Darwin?
Well, the reason why I harp on the Esplanade is because I feel like the CBD needs something to reinvigorate it. You know, you did talk about the waterfront earlier, but I just don't know. The waterfront's great. Like it's brought another element, I think, to the city. But in terms of the CBD itself, the CBD itself is tired. You know, there's boarded up shops everywhere. There's antisocial problems. We need, I think, businesses, and I know a lot of retailers, you know, they say they're 40% down on trade, which is, it's unsustainable.
Well, council can do so much to invigorate the CBD.
Mm-hmm.
These buildings are owned by owners that they haven't spent, unfortunately, some of them have spent any money at all to do it. Now, we have said to people in the CBD, we've got the mall. How many food shops we've got there?
Mm-hmm.
If we've got more food shops, I'm happy to close the mall completely in the afternoon, like at night.
Sure.
And help out so people can put the chairs out and put security patrol if necessary to actually push out people they want to cause problems.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to come to the party. We've done a lot of events. We brought markets to the mall. We closed the streets, Nike Street and the others, and people put their chairs out and tables, and that was really successful.
Mm-hmm.
We brought the Christmas pageant. This year we had 15,000 people. I couldn't believe 15,000 people. Now, there were 15,000 people in the street.
Mm.
Guess how many shops were open that offer food? I can't force people to open.
Yep.
For their own reasons, they choose not to open.
Mm-hmm.
Here we've got 15,000 people, and they can't buy an ice cream. They can't buy something for that.
Mm-hmm.
It takes two to tango. Now, I know council is the easy target. Well, what council is doing about it? Well, council can do only what we're allowed to do under the current legislation.
Mm-hmm.
I can't force people to open.
Yep. So getting back to the Heritage Declaration, do you think common sense has prevailed there? And
I believe so. I believe if something like that happened in the future, whoever is in the government will be smart enough to realize you can't just bulldoze it through. You have to follow due process. Otherwise, there will be another court case and we'll lose that one.
So do you think that the declaration will be re-declared?
Well,
or do you think the CLP government will?
I don't know what they're going to do, but I believe...
Well, I've heard Josh Burgoyne say that they won't re-declare.
I heard the same story.
Okay.
I know there's a government who wants to actually revitalize the CBD, revitalize Darwin. She wants to kickstart the economy.
Yep.
How can you kickstart the economy when you put a heritage declaration on top of private industry? That doesn't work. You can use the existing Esplanade to revitalize the CBD by bringing more people out. Go 5 o'clock in the afternoon, there will be some people working. Between 10 o'clock in the morning and 5 o'clock, there's nobody there. Very few people there.
Mm-hmm.
After 7 o'clock, very few people. If we're going to make the night economy of Darwin flourish, we have to bring people out of their houses in the afternoon,
Mhm.
either for dinner or a drink or a coffee. You go to Europe, and after 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, people out there having dinner or having coffees. They're not
Mm.
sitting home watching the news or television.
Yeah. Is that where this motion to have free parking after 3 p.m.
That was
came
one of
from?
the,
Is that
well,
part of the rationale?
yes, it is.
Okay.
It's trying to bring people back. The other thing you have to remember is we're talking about the CBD here, but there's suburbs out there that after, the old small shopping centers, they're dead.
Mm.
So we made the conscious decision. We're going to actually upgrade these shopping centers where we can, not the buildings. If you go to Wagaman Shopping Center now, you'll find out we completely redone the parkland in front of the park. Looks absolutely beautiful. Now it's up to the owners to actually say, "Hey, I've got a really good spot there.
Mm.
If I spend $50,000 to upgrade my shops, and instead of actually having an old supermarket that nobody goes unless they go to buy alcohol, I can actually have a restaurant,
Yep.
and that restaurant can put chairs out and things out, and that's what I've seen that happening in Perth. All the old small shopping centers that they now defunct because people go to big shopping centers.
Mm.
They don't go to the little ones, the deli. All of them have been converted now to eateries,
Mhm.
food. Moyle is another one. Some of the other shopping centers where you go now, you find a series of eateries, and that can attract a lot of people after hours. And as I said to you before, you've got people, you don't have any antisocial behavior.
Mhm. Do you think it's got a lot to do with cooling strategies? I mean, like, eating al fresco sounds great in in Perth and on the eastern seaboard when it's 25 degrees outside, and
Have you been to Perth in February, in January?
I have. Yeah.
If it's not 40 degrees, it will be 30 degrees plus 70% humidity. The climate has changed a lot.
Right.
If you go to Brisbane,
Mhm.
Brisbane in summertime can be really humid, like Darwin.
Yeah.
If you go to Gold Coast and if you go to some of the Cairns are very much like Darwin.
Yeah.
We have tried to cool the city. If you notice how many, I mean, look at Kavanagh Street. Kavanagh Street used to have 5 struggling trees.
Mm.
Now you've got a media strip that has trees and and
The shade
and
structure.
shade structure. Now, shade structure is not the best one. That's a government problem. They can live with it.
It was a good idea in theory.
In theory, but
Yeah.
they planted the wrong plants and they planted the wrong way.
That's right. If you look at Cullen Bay,
Exactly.
Cullen Bay have.
I was
And
going to
there's,
say exactly the
there's an
same.
argument there for private versus public, and
Well,
how things are done and executed differently. But
Callum Bay came to us and says they're going to do it.
okay.
Can you actually do something about the old toilets? And yes, we did. We spent $500,000 to put state-of-the-art toilets in Cullen Bay to complement
Mhm.
the facility. It's a tourist area. But Cullen Bay decided to do different, picked up the right plants, and they planted both sides of the structure,
Mhm.
not only in the middle. Um, uh, look how quickly the Cabinet Street near the hotel grew up.
Mm.
Look now from Nike Street towards the university, that strip, how quickly it's growing up.
Mm.
I know some people don't like it because I can't do a U-turn. Hold on. You want a cool city or you want it to be able to do a U-turn?
Yeah.
And if some industries or some business been affected, we apologize for that. But at the same time, if we don't cool the city, nobody will come down. As you said, people that don't come here because, hey, I'm going to Casuarina. It's air conditioned.
That's right. And I think, being in Darwin where it's 35%, 35 degrees and then 80 or 90% humid is a little bit different to
That's right.
Perth and Brisbane.
That's right.
Yeah.
We're doing the Smith Street. Smith Street is going to get a big remake up, putting big trees, plant to make it shady, so people can walk from the parking spot to the mall. We do Bradshaw Terrace and Casuarina because we're not focusing only on the CBD.
Mhm.
We're focusing on the whole suburbs. If you go from the Hungry Jacks in Bradshaw Terrace in Dry Road, all these rain trees actually have grown incredibly quickly, and you already start shading up the street
Mm.
before it was like a fry pan. You
I
walk
like the
there.
rain trees better than the African mahoganies.
Well, we're removing all the African mahoganies because of the danger. We had already people
That's right.
died from African mahoganies.
Yeah.
So we're putting rain trees. We're putting trees actually that will survive. They
Mm.
don't drop.
Do they have a deeper root system as well, the rain trees? You
Yes, they
think?
do,
Yeah.
and also they're more attractive for our environment, and they're
And-
more resistant to our environment. I'll give you an example. Gardens Hill Road. If you go down there, look at the rain trees. They've been there for how many year,
And
decade,
it's one of the
decades.
best part. It's like,
Absolutely.
you drive through there and you think, I could be in Singapore.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to do in Darwin.
Mm.
We have spent a lot of money greening Darwin and creating these shady environments. In the last 3 years, we have planted 40,000 trees, bushes, flower plants, and everywhere.
Hmm.
We've got a significant number of parks that we actually revitalize all the time. Have a look at the Baggot Park. They usually have a few scrunchy little trees struggling to survive. Now it's got a state-of-the-art car park, which has got trees on it, so they will shade, so cars do not become furnaces when you get in.
Sure.
We replace the old trees with new trees, mainly rain trees and tropical trees, and we do that in every park in our jurisdiction.
Hmm.
We're spending a lot of money in greening Australia, and $3.2 million for this financial year, 24-25, just greening parks,
Mm.
not greening Darwin, greening parks. We've got a significant investment in capital works exactly to do what you just said.
Mhm.
Make the place a livable place, make a place you want to go, not the shopping centers.
So it's good. I think more of that stuff needs to happen. Do you have any more sort of novel or innovative initiatives on the horizon to try and improve the comfortability of the city?
Well, we had a swimming pool in Casuarina that actually was really, really old. It was failing all the time. We spent $29 million. $7 million came from the federal government, the rest from the council. We delivered that 6 months ahead of schedule and within budget. And everybody loves it because you go there now, you've got kids,
Yes.
you take them, they've got a playground to play, they've got a grassed area to do something, and they've got the toddler's pool and everything else. So it's for the whole family.
Yep.
The next big project we actually have for the next year is the Civic Center. Currently, we've got a Civic Center that was built in the late 60s. It was built in totally different building code than what we've got today. The problem we've got is we had engineers have a look at the building. They assessed it. And if we want to maintain it as is in the next 7 years, we have to spend $30 million. The problem we've got also is if we decide to renovate, the moment we touch it, we have to comply with a modern code. So that means we have to comply with a modern cyclone code, with a modern earthquake code, the access code, the electrical code, the water
So that's
code.
just dollar signs.
Dollar signs.
Yep.
Our biggest problem is because it's an existing building and we have to maintain it, we can't borrow money for that. So that money we have to spend, they have to come from my rates and your rates and everybody else's rates. So we decided to bite the bullet and said, no, this is and I feel for the welfare of the people working there, as we had problems during COVID-19, and also when you've got a resident possum population on the roof, and sometimes some of the tiles that will fall from the roof. So we decided to bite the bullet and do something, because we've got $40 million reserves, and these reserves by law they can be spent only on car parking because they were the contribution of the developers who didn't have enough car parking,
Right.
so they paid us. So we tap on these reserves, and we will be building a 4-story car park, 400 car parking spaces in the CBD. So something we really need. We're putting 10 stories of council property, and that will be a new big library, function rooms, exhibition rooms, offices for our workers, council chambers, and everything else. And then we have a partner, Dicho, who's actually going to take the 10-story above it as theirs. They pay for it to build it, and they are going to actually go commercial and rent them and everything else.
Right.
Council is going to benefit because income is going to be generated by the car park. We maintain 51% of the ownership of the building, and then of course Dicho building paying their own money to do it, and then renting they'll be paying rates to the council as well. So it will be a building which is modern, comply with all the current codes,
Wonderful.
and we will actually provide some income to the council rather than relying heavily on rates. We rely 80% for our income to rates, the money you pay every year for your house. And I think that's unsustainable. I don't think we have to rely heavily on ratepayers. I think we should run the council in such a way so we can generate income from other sources, so minimize the impact on the ratepayers.
So you mentioned the Casuarina pool and I think the Civic Centre. So I know that the Casuarina pool was a part of the strategic projects prospectus, I think was released in 2019-20. how's this document going? Is there an updated version now?
Yes, there is.
Have you been sort of
Every,
ticking items off that
we
that
do,
prospectus?
and they actually the civic center was a part of this prospectus in
Right.
the last 2 years.
Yep.
Smith's landscaping was there. The Bandilla Beach was there. Capel Lane revitalization, the lane next to the Hilton Hotel in Mitchell Street, that's going to take a complete makeover
Mhm.
to actually have trees, a piazza outside. So all the food shops are there.
Mhm.
They're going to benefit because there will be a place they can put the tables and chairs out.
Mhm.
So people, especially in the dry season, can sit outside.
Mm.
Go to Cullen Bay in the dry season. Look, everybody sits outside.
Mhm.
We want the same in the CBD.
Mm.
I want people outside. I don't want people in air-conditioned venues. This is a place that's it's actually created to be outside. Yes, we're tropical. Um, how many people go to Singapore and have no problem sitting outside the beer garden
Mhm.
having a beer
Yep.
and not complaining because they're holidays? I can understand that.
Mhm.
We can do the same here. We can actually attract people outside. And if you go to Mitchell Street, there's a place that's got a big tree, and people sit outside even during the wet enjoying a beer.
Mm.
It's the environment that makes it different.
Mm.
Where was yesterday? Yesterday, I went down to the waterfront.
Mhm.
Yes, it was hot. But I tell you what, people were sitting outside because outside was so cool,
Mm.
so beautiful, and you didn't want to go inside. Yes, it was a bit hot, but the sea breeze would come and cool you down. It was
Mm.
really nice.
Well, I mean, I look at places like the new Flicks Bar on Mitchell Street, and I think I look at it, and I think must be a bit of a throwback to the old Hotel Darwin. You know, the green room.
Oh, yes.
It's got
Oh,
that
yes.
sort of
I
aesthetic
remember
to it.
that. I remember that.
And it's got the high ceilings and it's got the big ceiling fans and everything. And even though it's all al fresco, I thought, geez, it's cool. And I just thought that's the type of thinking where you're incorporating the outside and the sort of inside that Darwin really needs to see more of, like you're
Yeah.
talking about.
Have you been to the Aqua Scene for breakfast?
I have, yeah.
Excellent.
Yep.
I took my son before he flew away back to Melbourne on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
We went there. Actually, as we walked in, it rained.
Mm-hmm.
It was humid, but boy, it was beautiful. Sitting outside, having the sea breeze, and the service is great.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a paid advertisement, but actually, I will talk about every restaurant I've been in Darwin because people who listen to your program and see your program, they will get, oh, must be a good place if
Mm.
the Lord Mayor went there.
Yep.
And there are a lot of good places in
Mm.
Darwin, and the food is exceptional.
Mm.
And I had many people from down south that came here and said to me, God, we're getting Thai food. It's nothing like Melbourne and Sydney or Indian food. The taste is different, I said, because all the products are local.
Mm-hmm.
And we had the local people cooking the local cuisine from where they came from.
Mm. Yeah, well, it's good. We just need to see more investment, I think, don't we?
Absolutely. And does not have to be multi-billion-dollar
Mm.
investment. Some of these small shops we see now,
Mm-hmm.
they're a few $1,000s investment. But again, it has to be the landlord make an investment. You can't just expect to get $3,000 rent if you haven't spent a penny for the past 10 years in your property.
But is there any way that, say, like a city of Darwin can incentivize building owners to maybe lower rents, or like, because I know the Gunner government, I think a few years ago tried the stick approach, where I think they were going to start levying 2% or something for empty shop fronts. That was some time ago.
I think that was a wrong approach.
Yeah, I don't think that's the right approach, but it's that type of of lateral thinking that.
If I was the minister, I would say the current planning approval, it stands only for 5 years. If you don't develop in 5 years, planning approval goes back to basic,
right,
and you have to reapply again.
Mm-hmm.
So if you lose your planning approval for Lake Formosa story, it will cost you a lot of money to go back and do it again. That would be an incentive. Talk about incentive. Just during COVID and after COVID, we did not charge any properties for outdoor dining fees. Okay, you go to Perth and everywhere else, and they charge. We decided not to do it, hoping that people will actually go out. Guess how many applications we received? Nil, zeros. Okay.
Mm.
I think people are very conservative here in Darwin. They are something new. Oh, it's dangerous. Council actually been very innovative.
Mm-hmm.
During COVID, when we realized we're going to see a lot of shops closed down because people didn't go out, a lot of people lose their job. You remember the Darwin voucher?
Yeah. I used it. Yeah,
yes.
Multiple times. Yeah,
well,
great.
I've been to restaurants at the time, and people said to me that I still got my job here because of your voucher.
Mm-hmm.
People using it and come here, $80 a day, voucher. You come here and using the voucher to actually eat out. So
Yep.
the restaurant owner kept me employed.
Yep.
And we use the parking reserves for that, the parking fees we receive from when you park.
Mm.
And we thought, what the best way to return this money to the people that they park in the city, at the same time keeping our population and our industry alive.
Mm.
So councils got really clever ideas and smart ideas. As you said before, after 3 o'clock, it's free.
Mhm.
You know, before when we had the free parking, the council at the time decided to introduce parking fees for parking for 2 hours because public servants used to come and park for 8 hours.
Yeah.
So there was no change of cars. So people said, I'm not going to Darwin, can't find a place to park. Now people come to Darwin because there's a changeover every 2 hours.
Mhm.
People, and also a lot of the industry told us, and the industry complained to us, the retail industry said to us, can you please introduce fees on Saturday morning? And I thought, very surprised. I said, why you want fees on Saturday morning? People will not come. He says,
Mm.
because people drive on Friday afternoon, have a few drinks,
Mm.
do the right thing. They don't
Leave their
take their
cars.
cars,
Yep.
but they come and pick them up 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So we were missing all the morning trade because all the parking spots were taken. So we listened to the industry and we acted. Now we thought, well, public service now they don't park 8 hours, they can't.
Mm.
So when people leave after 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, it's empty. So let's make it completely free. So people says, finish work, I can go and park there for free and go and do some shopping.
Well, I think you're right. Like it's all about innovative thinking, but I think you've got to really know your market because if we look at say like remember well not the old Rorks but the new Rorks where they bought this well they leased the site, they put in all these beautiful brass taps and they were going to have all the beers that came out of the tables and all that sort of stuff. Like it must have cost an absolute fortune to set all that up, but they misunderstood their market. Like that's what I don't think Darwin was quite ready for that. I think that would have been okay in like a Sydney or a Melbourne CBD. And then you've got going back to like somewhere like a Sweethearts with the dueling pianos. Time will tell whether that's going to be effective or not, but you've got to really get your market right.
It's very interesting what you say because you see, you've got one spot that people spend a lot of money, but they don't market it properly. And then you've got another spot that people spend very little money, but because the quality of food and the service is so good, people are queuing.
Right.
I've seen businesses here, Chinese restaurants, they've been here for 30 years
Mm.
and they still go strong.
Mhm.
People are still not bored of it. I've seen restaurants, Chinese restaurants, they came from the airport where they used to be. They had a captive audience in the hotel in the city, and then they've got people coming and queuing to go into it.
Mhm.
I've seen a Greek restaurant moving from Smith Street where you had to actually book 3 days in advance, and they went to a lane.
Mhm.
Now you have to book 7 days in advance if you
Right.
want to go because they're so popular. Um, it's how you market your product,
Okay.
and also just having a beer, it wouldn't sell.
Mhm.
You have to have something better than that. You have to
Mhm.
have some fantastic product. There was a tavern near Harvey Norman. It was okay, but a lot of strippers and everything else. The new owners took it and decided to change completely to a family tavern.
Right.
You go there, you go Monday night, it's full. You
Right.
go Tuesday night, it's full. They've got a good product. A lot of the time, people misunderstand the market.
Mm.
You have to actually get good chef, get good people that they can do good service to provide a good service, and people go.
Mm. Well, I know Gordon Ramsay would say, don't judge a restaurant on its Friday, Saturday nights. Judge it on its Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday,
That's right.
Thursday. If you're doing that right, then yeah,
Darwin's got great restaurants.
it does.
It's got great takeaways.
Mhm.
It's got great food vans, and they're spread all around. And people in Darwin, they know which one's a good one
Mhm.
and which one's not a good one. And what drives Darwin people is the service as well,
Mhm.
the friendliness. When I walk to the shop and I know the owner, I know the kids, went to school with my kids.
Mhm.
But at the same time, if you don't offer a good service, if you don't offer a good product,
Mhm.
people will not go. They go once, and that's it.
Yeah. Moving more towards internal council matters at the moment. So there was one incident that played out quite publicly in the public forum. That was the Amy Un saga. So we actually had her on the podcast to give her side of events. Some people think you might have treated her unfairly, but that may not be the case according to you. Where are things at? Has that now been resolved, or was it just a complete misunderstanding? What's your take on it, Con?
It's unfortunately that this happened, and unfortunately, Amy Un has to bear the blame.
Okay.
Um, the situation was Emion was warned not to act in a way she acted, otherwise she found herself in a breach of code of conduct.
Okay.
She warned by two councillors, myself and another councillor. She didn't listen to us. She proceeded with that. And then she proceeded to put a complaint against us that we breached the code of conduct. The situation reached the NTCAT.
Mm-hmm.
NTCAT decided that the Lord Mayor did not breach the code of conduct. The Lord Mayor simply responded to her accusation and everything else.
Okay.
Then, unfortunately, Ms. Un decided to have, she had a dispute with an altercation with the members of the staff.
Right.
Members of the staff.
Is that the executive side of
yes,
council?
which council has nothing to do with it.
Right.
Council put a formal complaint to the CEO. The CEO, under the provisions of the Act, has to act. And Amy was given a trespassing order for 12 months, which was then expanded for another 12 months.
Okay.
It can be easily resolved because Amy had 19 complaints for breach of code of conduct.
Say 19.
19. And she was found that she breached the code of conduct in most of them.
Okay.
With clear advice by NTCAT and the panel that she should seek reconciliation, she should apologize, she should put in her Facebook page an apology and the facts. Unfortunately, she has done any of them.
Okay.
Now, also she uses her Facebook to attack me personally and the CEO personally. Now, I ignore it. It's not worth it.
Mm-hmm.
She's already been found breach of code of conduct. The problem we've got is the legislation in territory. It's so weak
Right.
that she's actually have done all these things, found a breach of code of conduct, and there's nothing neither the council can do or the department can do. In other jurisdictions, a person who breaches a code of conduct is fined or it's suspended as a council for a period of time,
Mm-hmm.
and in some serious circumstances have been thrown out of council.
Mm-hmm.
Here, nothing. There's nothing in the legislation. There were some monetary provisions before, fines. The previous government removed them, and that left now. And this is, we are not the only one.
Mm.
We've got the same situation in other councils with some rogue councillors.
Right.
But they realized there's nothing they can do. We've got a situation in one council that all the councillors can actually put a complaint against one of the other one councillor,
Mm-hmm.
and they will not be in the same room with that person, and they put a trespassing order.
So is that where the trespassing order comes in, or is because there's no other recourse? Is that
Well, trespassing orders if the staff says that I've been threatened feel threatened by the behavior of a particular person.
Yep.
The CEO has no alternative but to take action.
Mm-hmm.
And trespassing orders is that you can't be in a council property. Councils still can attend meetings via online,
Yep.
but they can't go to council, so they don't interact with the staff.
Okay. Do you put it down to being a misunderstanding over language? Because we had her in and she said that, look, I speak English as a fifth or sixth language even. Or do you sort of see it as that not being the case? She knew what she was doing and did it anyway?
I would accept that one if it happened once or twice or three times, but
Okay.
it's been going now for 2 years.
Right.
I've got English second language,
Mhm.
but I'm very careful what I put in Facebook, and I'm very careful when I make allegations against other people.
Mm-hmm.
For the simple reason is, and if you are not sure, you can always ask somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is when she asked for advice, advice was given, she chose not to follow the advice.
Right.
I'm pretty sure now that I'm going to get to copy it in her Facebook page because I publicly said what happened.
Right.
And but I said to you before, I don't care. So we reach now a stage that everybody in council very unhappy.
Mm-hmm. So the fastest way you think that this comes to resolution if she
does what has
accepts
been requested.
culpability
do.
and apologizes.
There are clear instructions by the panel. They assessed the breach of code of conduct
Mm-hmm.
and by the Northern Territory Administrative Tribunal.
Okay.
The only thing the council and every other council has to do is comply with these requirements. If very easy to comply with the requirements, follow what the NTCAT and the panel said,
Mm-hmm.
and I think there will be a solution there. The easiest one is stop putting stupid things in your Facebook. Whoever does things Facebook, because they stay there forever and they chase you forever.
Sure. Is there a way that we might be able to prevent this from happening again by maybe strengthening counsellor inductions or something like that? Like, really, is there a process
This
like
is
that in place, or
this is one of the requirements put to her by the NTCAT and the tribunal. She has to do training.
okay?
She has done any training yet.
But is there a process like that currently in place for counsellors? Is that
We-
something that you could look to?
As a president, I'm the president of the Local Government Association of the Northern Territory. Because this is not an issue faced by Darwin only, but faced by many councils in the territory,
Mhm.
we, as Legan, approached the minister and we have said enough is enough. If we are going to have a functioning local government territory and to maintain a good name for the people that put their hands up to be councillors, there have to be some recourse. We cannot have people that come into council, they create problems and divisions
Mm.
and be there doing all the time without any recourse.
Mhm.
Minister gave his word that he is going to look, and I understand the department now is looking into the current provisions of the legislation and how they can strengthen it. So, if somebody does something and found out by the panel
Mhm.
through a process
Sure.
that they breached the code of conduct or did anything else, there can be an avenue for either the department or the council to take action.
Okay.
This is not going to be resolved.
Mhm.
I'll give you how strong in our jurisdiction is. Recently, the local government association. Recently, there were local government elections in Victoria. In Victoria, by law, you have to undertake training before you put your hand in as a councillor.
Right.
61 did not complete the training.
Mm-hmm.
61 people were excluded of take part in the elections. In the territory, there's no such requirement.
Right. So what does that then limit your pool of
Well, you get,
talent?
but I want people actually they put their hand to be councillors to represent the community because they really mean to represent the community.
Sure. Yeah.
Not because they've got political affiliations
Mm.
or an axe to grind.
Yes.
Or, like in some councils down in Victoria, we had people that their interest was more about freeing Palestine than actually looking about their free. There's nothing wrong, free Palestine, if your personal view, but
Sure.
council is not the place to
Yeah. That.
air that.
Mm-hmm.
Your council is the place where actually your average citizen
Mm.
comes and tells you what they need in your jurisdiction, and you bring it to council.
Sure. We've just had Christmas, and with it, obviously, the 50th commemorations of Cyclone Tracy. How were the commemorations received in your mind?
Look, controversy, because a lot of people they use the Facebook again as a place to air their grievances.
Mm-hmm.
Let me give you a story. Because it was 50th anniversary, we decided council. It happened in Darwin. Council took the lead role.
Sure.
However, we had the Remembering Cyclone Tracy Incorporated body that came and saw us that they wanted to be part of it.
Mm-hmm.
We actually advertised late in 2023 for people, community members to express interest to be part of a committee for the 50-year commemorative
Right.
Cyclone Tracy.
Where was that? Was that made on Facebook? Was that made
Oh,
on the
everywhere.
everywhere?
Facebook, everywhere.
Radio. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We received less than 20 applications.
Right.
Okay. From these 20 applications, we picked up a number of people to create a committee. The committee had Richard Creswick, who was the chair of the
We had him on this podcast.
Remembering
Yep.
Cyclone Tracy. We had the brigadier who's in charge of the Robertson Barracks because the Defence Forces played a significant role. We had the curator of the Museum of the Northern Territory because of the exhibition of Cyclone Tracy.
Mm-hmm.
We had a councillor, Kim Farrar, she was a Cyclone Tracy survivor. We had another member of the community that was personal survivor. We had a tourism team, and we had two council officers, a manager and CEO. And because I'm the Lord Mayor, I'm ex officio the president. In that meetings, we start working, and then we reach a stage where Richard Creswell says, "Look, Cyclone Tracy happened Christmas Eve. What we want to do, we want the Remembering Cyclone Tracy Incorporated to take control of these commemorations.
Okay.
Council can take control of anything else. So we reached an agreement that council will do all the event until the 30th of November, and from there on, the Remembering Cyclone Tracy Incorporated
Sure.
will take care."
Mm-hmm.
And that was fair.
Yep.
So we started in August with the theatrical plays, exhibitions. I spoke to Bishop Charles to have a commemorative service for Cyclone Tracy, which he did, and also an ecumenical service as well with all the churches participating, which he did too. We had the big event on the 30th of November at the uh, yacht club, sorry, the ski club.
Hmm.
800 people took part. Unfortunately, I couldn't attend because I just had the operation for my knee.
Hmm.
However, I attended the commemorative services. Um, there was a bit of controversy about the kinetic sculpture.
Yep.
I know art is very controversial. Some people like it, some people don't like it. I still read the story about the Sydney Opera House that I was absolutely astounded that people will hate it with passion
Yep.
and other people loved it with passion. And then everybody changed their mind, and I think it's the greatest thing happened in Australia.
Right.
However,
So it's that selective memory you were kind of talking about before, was it?
that's right.
Yeah.
And we decided kinetic sculpture. We actually went out to try to find out because the committee decision was they wanted a kinetic sculpture.
Okay.
Uh, it was not council decision; it was the committee decision. That committee decision was conveyed to council, and council had to ratify it.
Mm-hmm.
We went around Australia to find out who does kinetic monuments. Nobody in Darwin does kinetic monuments.
Because that was part of the controversy, wasn't it? There wasn't a local artist
Well,
that got the money and
Well,
got to do the
they were
sculpture.
there was $600,000 that was split between Darwin City Council and the remember Cyclone Tracy. Richard had his ideas to create the frangipani flowers,
Right.
which is a really great idea. It's a very good one, and that was done by local artists because people here can do it.
Mhm.
And we decided we were the kinetic sculpture. The cost came more than $300,000. The council paid from the arts budget that we've got, and we created the sculpture. The sculpture called Coriolis.
Mm.
Coriolis are the forces of wind that Earth has, and those forces create cyclones. So
Right.
there's a
That's
connection.
it's the turning effect
That's
of
right.
the planet, isn't
That's
it?
right.
Yep.
And that will, and the winds and everything else.
Mm.
And then that structure will actually move. And next to the structure, we're going to have interpreted signs that explain all this. And the reason we want to put in Bandila because then we can direct people from there
Okay.
to the museum. They can see Cyclone Tracy.
Yep.
And that will be areas for children to come and talk about it, learn about it, and then go to the museum. So this will be officially open or released to the public at the end of January.
Okay.
Yes, there was controversy. However, the Cyclone Tracy memorial, 800 people attended the council one, and about 300 people attended the memorial on Christmas Day, which I attended too.
Yep.
And the Governor General came, and thank very much for that, and the Prime Minister, which I
Mhm.
think was an exceptional move, fantastic move, because I always say that that's not a regional or city event. That's actually an event that changed Australia.
Mhm.
If it was not for Cyclone Tracy, our building code would be different. The way we're building in tropical Australia would be different, and the way we're dealing with disasters would be different.
Yeah.
We learned a lot from Cyclone Tracy, and those lessons now have been incorporated to building codes, the way we're dealing with people, and the way we're actually dealing with disasters.
Mhm. So were you in Darwin for Tracy, or did you sort of come later on in the
No,
picture?
in 1974, I was a 17-year-old young man living in Greece,
Okay.
which at the time was at the just about to get into war with Turkey. And Cyclone Tracy did not make it to the news at all because there were more other things in Greece at the time. However, the funny thing is, I knew all about the Supreme Court in Darwin that had stairs and everything because at the time, the Chamberlain case, the Zaria case,
Yes.
and it was great interest everywhere, and it was the front page of the Greek newspaper.
Wow.
So before I even knew what Darwin was, I knew about the Zaria Chamberlain case
Yeah.
and Lindy Chamberlain case.
Fantastic. For you yourself, what's on the cards heading into the future? When's the next mayoral elections?
It's in August 2025.
Okay.
We've got 8 months to go. We've got a few projects to finish yet.
Yep.
We haven't finished yet. We have the building, the civic center. We've got a number of parks and facilities to do. I said this was Smith Street coming online, the Cape Lane, the Chapel Lane revitalization.
Mhm.
We've got the money allocated to do the Bradshaw Terrace in Casuarina. We've got a number of parks in different wards that we actually, because we don't do things only in CBD,
Mhm.
Darwin is actually the wards as well. And we're looking to actually work, and we're working very well with the local councils. For example, the Wogaman Oval upgrade, the park bollards in Malak to stop people driving into the green belt.
Mm-hmm.
We've got the water ward speed check signs, a lot of signs in front of the schools. The George Park playground in Charnwood, the Nightcliff Community Center upgrades. You probably have seen the Nightcliff Ovals getting new change rooms and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got quite a few projects. We've got a 61 million capital works budget for this year.
Sure.
We're halfway through that one, so we've got about another $30 million to spend, and we're going to spend them. This money uh, coming from the ratepayers, and they're going to go back to the ratepayers to make our city a livable place, a green place, a cool place, and a place that people will come and has the wow factor.
Mm-hmm.
I had people coming and telling me that they never thought Darwin would be so green as it is. They were very impressed that being here 10 years ago and coming back now, the change in the landscape and the urban forest is enormous.
And what about the man, Kon Vatskalis himself? Is he planning to run for re-election, or are you just going to ride off into the sunset? What's your sort of
Well,
what's next for you?
I live in the city.
Yep.
I love the city. I like the city. I want to do things for the city, and there's some things I haven't finished yet. I've got some projects in the pipeline that I'll reveal in the next few months.
Okay.
What I want to do about the city, about how to make the city cool,
Mm-hmm.
green, activated, bring more people to the city. You have to remember, shopping centers close 5 o'clock. So how can we get these people that got shopping centers to bring to the city in the afternoons? Um, should we negotiate to extend the shopping hours until instead of closing 5 o'clock,
Mm-hmm.
closing later, open later and close later? Should we actually work some, let's say, with the retailers in the city, especially the food industry, to see how can we actually help to revitalize the city? And don't forget the state government or the territory government's got some plans about the state square.
Mm-hmm.
We want to work with the government. And I made clear to the chief minister, the council is not here to be the opposition to the territory government.
Mm-hmm.
The government's here, the local government throughout the territory is here to work with the local government to deliver better facilities and services to our people. One of the things we actually done, and we've done very well, and nobody talks about, is the rubbish tip. The rubbish tip was given to the council in 2005 by the government with no money at all.
Mm.
So the council finished with an albatross in its neck. In the last 3 years, I have invested $16 million in the rubbish tip. It was a rubbish tip that was managed as well as it could, but in the last 3 years, it has changed completely. Give you an example. All the new cells where the rubbish go now, they are done in such a way that they will prevent any liquids going from the decomposing waste down to the water table.
Yep.
Not only that, but we actually process these liquids and clean them in such a degree that we actually use them to water the cover of the rubbish tip to plant grass, so it's not eroded when we have the heavy rains. We have now a power generation in the tip that uses gas from the tip
Mm-hmm.
and can actually power 1,000 houses. We're going to double that one.
Wow.
So we have done a lot of recycling.
I have heard about that. You might not know the technical details, but how does that work sort of in
Well-
practice? Is it just gas capture and then it's used to power like
What happened when the rubbish decompose? They produce methane.
Mhm.
This methane, because now the rubbish are buried, but we covered with impervious layer of soil.
Right.
That and that methane stays in the cell.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we do before we even start burying things? We put pipe work in it. So when the methane is there, that methane goes through the pipes into a compressor, and it goes into the generator. The generator burns the methane and produces electricity.
Mm.
If methane escapes from the rubbish tip, it's got the ability to cause significant climatic change. It affects the atmosphere
Mm-hmm.
and takes hundreds of years to decompose.
Right.
Well, converted to carbon dioxide is much, much better because carbon dioxide is absorbed by trees.
Mm.
So we do that to all the thing. So we have now a network now, excessive network. And the reason we take the liquids out is because if there's liquid there, there's no much methane generated. Remove the liquid,
Mm-hmm.
the drier rubbish generate more methane, and
Yep.
that we use it. And we'll continue to do that one. We have a very good cooperation with an Australian company that specializes in that and does that in other rubbish tips. So we've got a lot of plans, but the best one is we've expanded by better managing the rubbish tip, expanding its lifespan by 30 years.
Okay.
So we don't need to go and find another place yet because we've got the rubbish tip. You have to remember also the rubbish tip is the only rubbish tip for Darwin, Palmerston, and Litchfield. There's no other rubbish tip in that area. And we have now people coming from the islands, Tiwi and the other islands, because they have no place to rubbish their waste.
Yep.
They want to actually bring them and put them in our rubbish tip.
There you go.
So working very closely with the other local industry, we're working very closely with EPA, working very closely with the government to actually manage our facilities better, our parks better, our roads better, and also to provide a safe environment. We live in a tropical environment. We get heavy downpours. Do you know we've got 500 kilometers of stormwater drains? We're spending millions of dollars every year to actually upgrade them. We put a camera through them, a robot camera. We examine every single of them. We found out mattresses, prams, bicycles that we cleared, collapsed drains we're repairing, 500 kilometers of water drains,
Yep.
about 220 parks, 500 kilometers bicycle lanes, and of course all the roads in the municipality, apart from Trow Road and some of the arterials, the big arterials, all of them are ours, and we have to maintain them. Our bigger problem at the moment is a lot of water, especially the one that runs off from the airport, because the airport expanded, more apron, that means more water runoff, which finishes in two areas. One is the Ludmilla Creek, and the other is the Rapid Creek, and we're managing that one as well.
Just one thing we might finish on, that's the antisocial stuff in the CBD. How have things been going? I noticed there's the security detail that's comes around on the golf buggies to try and sort of keep things calm. I think is that an NT government initiative, or is that a council thing?
Previous government promised to us if we put some money into the antisocial behavior patrols, they will deliver more police on the streets in 2 years' time. So we thought, well, we haven't got any policeman on the street, might as well help out.
Yep.
We spend about $500,000 a year for 2 years. We didn't see any police on the streets. I became a person and non grata for the previous government, despite the fact that I came from the same stable.
Sure.
Because I keep asking, where's the bloody police? You said we're going to police. The reality is the patrol in their blue shirts look great, going up and down, but they can't arrest. They can't move people.
The powers are very
They
limited,
have
aren't they?
no powers. The only thing they do is sitting there, and in most cases, we work very closely with our own rangers, and we work with them and to call the police to come in. But if you don't have police on the street, nothing happens. The new government, I have reiterated exactly the same to the new chief minister.
How's the relationship there?
We have a very good relationship. I know Leah for a long, long time. We've got a very good relationship. I support her in her drive to get rid of the antisocial behavior, to get rid of crime.
Yep.
And they need some innovative approaches. I think what they're doing at the moment, look, let's give them time. It's only 4 months they've been in
That's
power.
right. Yep.
You can't expect everything to change in 4 months. And I say that one because I expected the same when we got in power in 2001.
Yep.
Give us some time and we'll fix it. I'm prepared to give them some time to fix it. And I see they're doing the right movements. It's a big problem. The other problem we've got is people in the communities, there's nothing to do there. So what they do, it's easier for them to come here. They can sleep in the open. They have access to alcohol. Somehow they get the money, royalties and everything else, which most of them are blown away in royalties. My advice to the chief minister was, do not just put them in prison. Prison does nothing. Actually provides a really safe environment, 3 meals a day, showers, and a safe place to live. Especially young offenders. Don't send them to the Don Dale. Send them to a class. Most of them can't even read and write their name. So put them somewhere in some areas where they actually can read and learn and write. Teach them a lesson. Teach them a trade. Skills.
Yep.
And the other thing is make sure that the communities start getting out of this isolation, that they've got some industry there. How can you have a community that's got 2,000 people and they bring all their bread frozen from Darwin instead of having their own little bakery doing things there, giving job in the community?
But what are the major hurdles to getting that changed? Like, is it reform of the land rights acts and things like that to.
Well, I can't answer that one. That's a federal issue. But
I understand, but
I,
but you were a
my
you were
other
a state
well,
minister.
we
And
have well,
you do have
we,
knowledge of legislation and how it works.
yes. Look, indigenous people in the territory, they own 51% of the land,
Mm-hmm.
and when you've got 51% of the land, you've got wealth.
But
Money,
if you can't use that wealth because
exactly,
of
or
regulatory
it's the
restrictions.
way that it's done, and we have to go back and look. Okay, well, that was done 1970s,
Mm-hmm.
the way we thought in 70s.
Yep.
Does it apply to 2025?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, does school in communities have to be a place where people can come from Victoria for a cultural experience, or will be proper school that teaching kids? We've got a very good examples of school in communities that they work really well.
Mm.
People say, "Oh, um, bilingual teaching is great," and we've got some really good examples. And I'm Greek in background. I taught at a Greek school in Darwin,
Mm-hmm.
and we taught the kids during the week at the mainstream school English. And the kids who want to learn the language came to the Saturday school, and they did 4 hours to learn
Yep.
language, to learn the culture, the dances, and everything else. And this model is used now by the Chinese and the Indonesians,
Canada, they do it.
everywhere,
Yeah.
everywhere.
Mhm.
We can do something. But as I told you before, because it's something we did in 1970s,
Mm.
we have to go back and have a look at it in 2025. It's a
Well,
progress.
I think the bilingual stuff is on the money because a lot of Aboriginal people, similar to Amy on, speak English as a fifth or a sixth language.
Of course they do.
If you could teach Australians maybe a common Indigenous language, Ted Egan used to say Pintinjara was probably the easiest for everyone to learn.
Let me
Then
say
I think it would just lead to people being able to understand each other a bit better.
if I write a letter to the bank asking for a loan in Greek, it will return to the sender. Okay? I have to write in English.
Yep.
English is the language that Australia uses.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? But at the same time, we have to teach the language to the kids,
Sure.
wherever they come from, because language is culture.
Mm-hmm.
You can't take an Aboriginal kid and cut his language and then say, "Oh, where's your culture?"
Mm-hmm.
Language is culture,
Mm-hmm.
traditions. The dances are important. So we can teach every single clan group and, and encourage them to teach their language, the same way the Greeks are doing, the Italians and everybody else. And at the same time, teach them proper English. So when they go to get a job, they get a job because they can read and write in English. One thing we can do is, and I've done it very successfully, when a mine asked for expansion as a Minister for Mines, I gave a condition that they had to hire at least 30 or 40 indigenous young people to teach them how to drive cars and to drive dozer and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And I had Aboriginal kids when I visited the mine telling me, first time in his life he was getting paid $70,000 a year for driving a truck, and he loved it.
Mm-hmm.
There are opportunities.
Yep.
Ali Karang, they've got Central Farm, and there are opportunities for people to actually farm produce in the opposite cycle of the season, so they can export them down to Adelaide or Melbourne.
Well, a lot of those areas could be food bowls, couldn't they? But they just need access to the
Absolutely.
water and
They've got water.
yeah.
I mean, tea tree, it's got lots of water.
Yeah.
But we have to actually find a way to actually encourage these people to do this work. But if people getting paid with SIDA money, as a lot of indigenous leaders say,
Sure.
what's the point of actually working if I still get paid? We have to instill and that's not applies only to Aboriginal people. You go down to Sydney, see how many people actually get to see that money because it's so easy to do it from.
Oh, it's a
centrally.
plague globally,
Exactly.
isn't it? Yeah.
If somebody gets free money, why should go to work?
That's right. It just takes your incentive away. So
I've seen indigenous people. They're so smart with their skills. They're so smart with cars. They're so smart with a lot of things.
and knowledge of the land that they could use.
And they
in
survived
agriculture
in
and-
this
yeah.
difficult land for thousands of
Sure.
years. They can do it. It's the people who are destroying it. It's the people that think, "Oh, I'm doing something good by doing that." No, you're destroying people by being good. I've seen it in Africa. I've seen it in other places. Unfortunately, you see it today here.
Yeah.
There are a lot of kids. You look, I was so proud when one day one guy rang me and said to me, "I want to see you." So I saw him. He had a Greek surname. So I said, "Oh, Greek." I said, "Hey, Mum, but I'm indigenous and indigenous Greek." "Oh, and you know what?" I said, I'm a plumber. I've got my own company, and I just got a contract in Casuarina Pool. So I was so proud. This half Greek, half indigenous kid had his own company, and he got a big contract in Casuarina Pool. Don't tell me that people can't do it. They can do it. They have ability to do it. They can see it. The Raska brothers, very good example of people that actually did. indigenous people
Mm-hmm.
that do a lot of things.
Yeah.
And when I was a minister for roads, people told me that most of the roads in the territory in the 60s and 70s were done by indigenous people that work in big companies.
Yeah.
They used to get a grader and told them go from chain 1 to chain 20. That means 20 kilometers. And they did it perfectly all right.
Yeah.
People got skills, but unfortunately, we don't use the skills and we
Mm.
don't encourage to develop the skills.
How can people find out about what the council's got on the horizon? You said there's a few things you've got that
Yep.
you'll release in good time, but
Yep.
how can people find out
You
about
can
those sorts of things?
you can look at our website.
Yep.
You can even look at our municipal plan. You can look at the strategic plan. It's all there. You
Yep.
can access it and read it and find it, download it, copy it. As I have in front of me things that I downloaded today from our municipal plan, so I can give you some concrete evidence and concrete stuff here.
Yep.
But everybody, our council puts everything online.
Yep.
Even our council meetings go online. So if you want to hear about council meetings, you go online and you see it.
All right. Well, Kon Vatskalis, you're a busy man, mate, so we'll leave it there. Appreciate you coming in and spending time with us, and good luck for 2025.
My pleasure, and thank you very much for giving the opportunity to speak to you and to speak to your listeners and your audience. I said to you before, I lived in the city. I came in 1993 for 2 years,
Mhm.
and I haven't left yet.
Yep.
I love the city. I want to do my best for the city. I'll put my hand up one more time for 2025.
That's right. That's what I was going to ask you. I did. Yep.
And then probably I retire. But I would still keep an eye to see, is this place getting greener? Is this place getting cooler? Can we actually do something different? I've got some ideas. I want to do it. I want to think about it, to put in place, and then people can say, I like the ideas or I don't like the ideas.
Democracy.
Democracy.
Thanks, Kon. Appreciate
Thanks,
it,
mate.
Cheers.
My pleasure.
Thanks, everyone. See you next time.